Okay, guys, I am so excited to be doing this event with Thrive Organics. We met literally like a month ago, and they came on to one of our podcasts, and I just loved their story. Their story was so similar to kind of like our story, and I love the fact that that they really want to spend time with you to figure out what's going to be best for you, and they're super honest if something's going to be able to help you or not, which is what I love about them. So we decided to kind of come together and do an event so, you know, you guys could really learn a little bit more about CBD, and then also about like physical therapy and how it really can work really well together on just really kind of getting to the source of the problem. So today we're going to talk about how CBD could help with your sleeping and your pain. You know, are you taking your CBD correctly? How good is your source of your CBD, which is really important. We'll get into like why MRIs, medications, injections lead us down to the path of more unnecessary procedures, and really just how to get back to living life when you have back pain, knee pain, when no one else could really help using CBD and physical therapy. So let's get started.
Okay, so I'm up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so CBD, as it says, is the technical term is cannabidiol. It is found in the cannabis plant. So both marijuana and hemp are cannabis plants, they're cousins. But hemp is specifically grown to have a very low THC content. It works with our endocannabinoid system, and just you can read the bullet points, and I don't want to read everything, but just to kind of hit it, it does relax your nervous system. What we find very powerful about it is it calms your brain down, and the reason why it does that is we have several receptors, CBD receptors. Well, there's CB1, CB2 receptors in our brain. And so CBD goes and works with those receptors, and it just has a calming effect. CBD is a natural anti-inflammatory, and it binds with the cell receptors that I was talking about, the CB1, CB2 receptors, and it helps maintain homeostasis. It works with the endocannabinoid system to help maintain homeostasis and create balance in your body.
Yeah, and I know that's huge. I mean, when you talk about balance, I want to go to the next slide. Oh, yeah. When you talk about balance, because you know, when our body's in balance, it works really well, and there's a lot of things that we can do to, you know, kind of get to the root cause of some of these things. So can't wait to learn more.
Yeah, so the endocannabinoid system, the way you can think about it, well, let me first tell you exactly what it is. It is a 600 million year old messenger and receptor system. And it acts and reacts, I'm looking at my notes, it acts and reacts to external and internal stimuli, and it corrects and directs and overall manages our health. So there is not a system in our body that the endocannabinoid system does not manage. You can think of it as if you're in your house and your kids are noisy, and you go to them and you say, you need to keep it down. So that's the endocannabinoid system. It receives stimuli from cells, and it sends out messages to help those cells quiet down. So that's a kind of hopefully a clear analogy. We have, as I mentioned, we have CB1 receptors, CB2 receptors. We have a lot concentrated in our brain and in our gut, which is no surprise because our gut is our second brain. Yeah.
Any more?
No, I mean, just back to, I was looking at the CBD can help with, the reason why it can, people say, why, how does this help with all the things? It's because it's because of the ECS. The ECS system manages all the things.
Yeah, and I know one of the things that you said specifically that people have been coming into your clinic for is anxiety, pain, sleep, specifically even with like knee pain and back pain, those kind of things. You know, anything where there's just an inflammatory response, essentially.
Yes.
So I want to get into a little bit about like why medications, injections don't necessarily work for knee pain and back pain. And so this will really help to understand like getting to the source of the problem. So we feel pain in 3 ways. We feel pain mechanically, we feel pain thermally, and we feel pain chemically. So when you look at like thermal pain, that would be like burn, sunburn. So let's kind of take that off the table. When you look at chemical pain, so chemical pain is like you have an injury, chemicals come in, and when they come in, that's will give you that like pain that is, oh good, that will give you like that pain that is that constant achiness, like you can't change your position to make it better or worse. Like it's just that achiness, that constant throbbing type pain. That's chemical pain. Like that's what happens if you have like a really bad injury, the chemicals come in. So chemicals can treat chemicals. So, which is great. So if we have something like that, then yes, that's when I'm usually telling people, you know, we might need to, you know, have an injection to kind of calm things down. We might need to look for some medications, or, I mean, again, this would be another amazing option of like going to the CBD path too, because you're going to go to things that are going to be more natural to our body for healing, where even when you think of like anti-inflammatories and things like that, it's still unnatural to take some of those things. Like our body, you know, it's like stopping part of our body's process of healing when we take some of those things. So going down that CBD route is definitely going to be a better option for you guys. But then we have mechanical pain. And that's really where like physical therapy can really come into play, because if you don't change the mechanics of what is going on, and there's a lot of things that when you look at that, you know, the questions that I typically tell people to ask yourself whether, you know, something, you know, is going to be more mechanical versus chemical is, can you change your position and make your pain better or worse? You can do that, then part of your pain is mechanical. If your pain comes and goes, again, that's going to be more mechanical pain. Chemical pain is that constant pain that you have. Now, it doesn't mean that mechanical pain can't be constant. You can also have constant pain with mechanical pain. But really, when you're looking at mechanical pain, you're getting to the source of what is going on with your body and understanding how, you know, I always tell people you've got to do mobility before stability, getting down to like where is the source coming from, and then addressing that, and then starting to work on, you know, things that you'll do like, you know, strengthening and movement patterns and those kind of things. But if you don't get to the source before doing that, you're never gonna, it's like you just kind of are in this wheel, this, you know, rat's race of like, I'm nothing's really helping, which is what we see all the time at our office. So let's get into a little bit more of like why surgeries lead to more surgeries and what the research says about that. And again, if you look at, if you don't get to the source of the problem, then that's where you know, surgery may not be the thing for you. So like I always tell people, like where the side of the pain is often not where the source of the problem is. So you could have like knee pain that could be coming from your back. You could have knee pain that could be coming from your hip. You could have, it could be layers of things, because this has kind of been going on. And so if you go in and say, oh, I have knee pain, and that's all that they look at, and they take an imaging of you, what ends up happening is they may find something. And if you look at the research on imaging alone, like 60 to 80% of people that are pain-free, fully functional, no problems, and this is across like a ton of research, will show something on imaging, on an MRI, whether it's a meniscal tear, a labral tear, whether it's you know, herniated disc degeneration, and anything along those lines. Like it's, you could be fully functional, pain-free and show those. So when you have pain and then all of a sudden you're getting imaging on those body parts, then you could be going, oh, you know what? My pain is coming because of degenerative changes that are happening in my back. Well, no, it may not be that. It may be something else, something that's totally fixable. If you look at the research in this country, like we do 200% more back surgeries than any other country, hands down. We also have more imaging centers than any other country as well. They're like almost on every single corner. The same thing with knee, like when people have like those meniscal tears and things like that, like sometimes they are needed. I'm not saying that surgery is not needed, but it's way overused. But as we get older and they're saying like, we want to clean the knee up because there's some degenerative changes and that's going to be our first step. And then after that, we may have to go into a total knee replacement. The research shows on just cleaning up the knee, it's actually, you're worse off if you do that versus just going in and doing some general physical therapy. You'll be better off if you can find someone that can really get down to the source. So when you look at, doctors these days, they don't have a lot of time with you. I mean, so typically what happens is, and the hospitals realize that, well, we make a lot of money if we just can do all the testing, because they know it's going to lead down to procedures. And so you literally spend 5 minutes with a doctor. They go, okay, let's go and get a test. Oh, this is what it's showing, and this is what we need to do. They aren't even sending people to physical therapy anymore. They're saying like, here's some exercises and do these. And if they work, great. If they don't, which probably don't because it's just blanketed exercises, well, we've tried physical therapy, so now let's go and have surgery. And we see it all the time. I mean, these are the people that come into our office. I mean, we've had people that had surgery scheduled and we were able to like take it off the books because they got better. For whatever reason, this is not, there we go. So let's go into chronic pain and CBD.
Okay, so chronic pain and CBD, the reason really CBD does a great job on pain because, again, back to the endocannabinoid system. What happens is a cell will send out a message. It'll send out a message of pain or inflammation or some sort of stress. And then the endocannabinoid system responds by sending out a message to stop it or calm it down. But our bodies actually make cannabinoids, but similar to when we're low in vitamin D, you know how our body can take the sun and make its own vitamin D. The same is true with and then if we're not in the sun or for some reason our body is not really producing enough vitamin D, the same happens with cannabinoids in our system. So we can use phytocannabinoids like CBD to support the endocannabinoid system. So usually if you're having some pain symptoms, like for my mother, I guess with MS, would you consider that chemical pain? It's just that she has constant ache on her right arm, but it's
some of it could be when I think of like chemical pain, like true, you can have like an arthritis type response that's going to be more like, think of like rheumatoid arthritis. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a completely different type of inflammation from an injury perspective. And so with MS, I'd almost put it in kind of that category. So when you start looking at like, oh my gosh, they have, when you're getting these like random chronic, like that, I guarantee you medications wouldn't even touch her. Like she'd be like, this doesn't even help. That's when you have to get into, when you talked about like CBD and how it can even, there's receptors in our gut and how that's why is it's taking some of those, what you're talking about here. There's receptors all over the place and it's making those kind of come back into balance. So I wouldn't consider those really chemical pain. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha. At any rate, I had never heard of chemical pain, so I thought that was really interesting. But I think back to my mother, yes, she was on 5 different medications and they didn't touch her pain and it just made her miserable. So the CBD works amazing. Her pain is completely under control. And again, it's because of the endocannabinoid system and the fact that it's able to bring her back into balance because the MS attacks the brain. the MS attacks, it's basically your body is firing off random symbols. What am I trying to say?
Signals.
Signals, yes, random signals. And the CBD works with the ECS, and then the ECS is what's actually getting the pain under control and getting the systems back in balance and working the way they're supposed to work.
Yeah, and you can have things like, there's times when we'll talk to people and it's like, this is not a chemical pain. This is not a mechanical pain. Like they have an autoimmune response. And so that's essentially what's happened with like even MS. It's an autoimmune response. So you can have all these misfire signals and things like that. And that's where you can have, diet things that can get your body back into balance. Sure. And you can use CBD to kind of get back into balance. And so you can use all these like more natural things to balance the body, where if that, like, I wouldn't say if it's an autoimmune type response, drugs aren't going to help you.
No.
And if it's an autoimmune type response, mechanics aren't going to help you either. And I, in our office, we can kind of tell, we know, I'm like, okay, and you can start asking questions. Like usually you can ask questions like, are you starting to notice that you're getting some stomach issues and things like that? And they're like, oh my God, how did you know? And I'm like, yeah, because I can't find any mechanical issue whatsoever with your body. Your symptoms are all over the place. There's no patterns. Because with things that are mechanical, you're going to find patterns. And there's nothing. And so then you start going down that path and it's like, okay, we know now where we need to send you to start, getting, the body back into balance type stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
It all comes down to getting to the source of the problem. And so in this country and in our healthcare system, we treat symptoms. It's what we love to do.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm smiling because I have a long history of that, of just my mom's symptoms being treated. And I remember when she first got sick, all these random things were happening. And I kept saying, but why? Why is this happening? I don't understand. Like, how come she's just, one day she's fine and the next day she has blood pressure off the charts? And I never to this day have gotten an answer. It's just she's getting older and I still don't.
God. That drives me bananas. That's the answer for everything sometimes.
It is, for sure. Okay, back to the sleeplessness and CBD. So one, CBD, if you are in pain, you'll stay awake. You won't be able to sleep because you're in pain. So if CBD is helping control that pain, then you will sleep. The other thing that we find, we talk to so many people. There are so many people in this country right now who don't sleep. I'm amazed at how many people I talk to who don't sleep. And usually it's because our brains are on overdrive. We have so much, I think, coming at us all the time, and it is chronic. And what CBD does is it just, again, your brain calms down. The thoughts, it's not a magic pill. It's not a light switch. It doesn't go all the way away. The thoughts don't go all the way away, but they just kind of slow down and they're not quite as loud, so that you just drift to sleep naturally. And what we see is that the more consistent you are using CBD for longer periods of time, you'll find that you start sleeping better and better. And then you'll kind of even forget that you're sleeping so well because of the CBD. And I do it myself. I'll stop taking it and I'm like, what's going on? Oh, I haven't taken my CBD for 2 weeks. No wonder I'm not sleeping. Or I actually have a hip catch, and it was back with a vengeance yesterday. And I was thinking, what is going on? I can barely walk. And yeah, I haven't taken CBD in 2 weeks. I don't know why. You start feeling so good that you just stop, you forget. And then it's like, okay, I got to get back on track. Yeah.
Yeah. And with sleeplessness too, there's so many people that, again, when we talk about like their bodies really being out of balance, when that happens, especially for females, when, their hormones kind of get out of balance, even you can still balance your hormones, even when you get into older ages, where the doctors don't tell you, they just want to put you on pills and those kind of things. You can still balance your hormones. And when you can get them into better balance, you will also notice that your sleep will start getting better.
Yeah.
As well. But again, if you look at like, you know, CBD, and there's receptors, like it makes sense. There's receptors in the gut, and our gut is where our immune system is and where we need to get things back into balance. And so that's, again, you can just make the correlations there.
And again, there's no system in our body that is not affected or controlled by the endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
There's nothing it doesn't touch. So I think, yeah.
So want to get into a little bit of like causes of knee pain and back pain when we look at from a mechanical perspective. So, you know, I always tell people, there's probably one person in the chat, let's see what they say. We'll get some of these questions at the very end. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything really quick that we could go into and address. So when I always tell people that you have got to get your mobility back before your stability. And in a lot of places, what will end up happening is they think like let's take back pain. Oh, we've got to do core strengthening and that's what's going to resolve our back pain. No, like you can't even get to the strengthening piece of it until you get down to the source of what's really going on. And if your body's not moving very well, whether that be your back, your hip, your knee, then your muscles will not fire correctly. And so you'll find people like, yeah, like my leg, it just doesn't function. It doesn't, like, I can't feel it actually like getting strong or like getting that burn. Like it just feels like a peg leg. And that's because there's something going on from a mobility perspective that needs to be addressed. And you could have literally, like I said, you can have knee pain where there's stuff that can mimic a meniscal tear, just like you can have hip pain that can mimic a labral tear, but it may not be coming from that at all. Like I said, you can, you know, if you go into test normal people, they're going to show some of these things. You can have knee pain that's coming from the back. You can have knee pain that's coming from the hip. We had a person that had been dealing with knee pain for a really long time, and she was getting to the point like she couldn't squat. You know, doing stairs was difficult. She was having issues with even just being able to walk and run. And that was her way of being able to like cope with like the everyday stresses. And she couldn't do any of these things. And she had been hurting for years and it was getting worse. And, you know, we had to peel back layers. It started that she didn't have a hip mobility. And that was creating part of her knee issues. And so we had to resolve that. But come to find out, the reason why her hip was always tight was because she sits Indian style at her office every single day, especially when she's stressed. Well, that keeps the hip in this position for 8 hours a day, day after day. The joints don't like being in some of those positions for long periods of time if we don't like undo that same repetitive type position. So once we figured that out, then she started moving and she's doing really, really well. And then we had to start working on getting just individual muscles firing. Now we're to the point where we're getting functional muscles. And she like literally had like grinding in her knee and she has nothing, no grinding. She's able to go downstairs pain-free. We're starting to get her back into working out again. But it literally was layers of things that we had to go and pull. And it wasn't just, oh, let's look at the knee and that's it. We've had people that had thoracic issues that created hip pain. They can be, you know, your back can create hip pain and it's not even a hip issue. Your hip can create back pain. So again, you have to figure out where the source is coming from. Once we have the mobility, then you can start looking at stability. And that's the strengthening piece of it. That's when you have those looking at those muscle imbalances, those movement habits. What are some of the movement habits that you've created that we need to kind of pull you out of? You know, I always tell people, you know, we have to get to the source of what's causing the back pain and the knee pain, and where the side of the pain is often not where the source of the problem is. And it's really getting to someone that can really understand that. And if things have been going on for years, it takes time to like pulling back layers of things to start getting your body to function. But we've seen it time and time again. I mean, literally, I think, you know, in the 3 years that we've been open in our office, we probably have only sent like 6 or 7 people in 3 years to having surgery. That's it, 6 or 7. We've been able to help resolve, you know, everyone else, you know, for the most part, or get them to the right location of where they need to be. We have a few people that I'm like, okay, let me go send you to this doctor because this is not mechanical, this is more autoimmune, and we can go and get you help from a different perspective. And the other thing that people don't look into is what are you doing in your lifestyle that's creating the problem? So I gave like the example of the person that was sitting Indian style, and that was locking her hip up. And I was like, for the first 2 visits, I'm like, why is your hip not staying this way? Like, you're doing the stretches, and come to find out, like, that's what she had said. So, you know, I kind of described, if you pull your finger back and you hold it back, and the joints in this weird position, it's not in its normal resting position. And we hang out there day after day, year after year. And that's what we do. It doesn't matter if you do injection, if you do massage, if you do strengthening, if you do mobilizations, if you don't fix pulling the finger back, then you're still going to have problems. And so we've got to dive into your lifestyle of maybe some things that you're doing that we might need to just adjust and bring awareness around so that we can come up with a game plan for you. I don't understand why I never can get this to move. It's like, whatever. Oh, well, let's do a story of hope. So I'll share this story. And this is a completely different person. This was a 60-year-old male, and he was suffering with knee pain. And he went to the orthopedic surgeon, and basically they took an image of him and said, we need to do a meniscal tear. You've torn your meniscus. And this person, the wife, had been in to see us before and was like saying, you need to go and see Stephanie and Ben at this office. Like, they're going to be able to help you. And he's like, no, let me go to the orthopedic surgeon first. And so he went there and stopped by afterwards and like literally had the surgery scheduled to go and have surgery. And so, you know, when I was asking how did this happen? And they're like, well, I'm not really sure. Like, anytime you get questions, like answers like that, normally you can get help, because it's not something that, like, I didn't trip and fall or something like that. It was like, I'm not really sure what I did. And that's like 80% of the things that happen to people. It's like, I'm not really sure. I just woke up one day and I started hurting, or I did this. And literally he was down on his knees taking care of puppies. And for him, there's a thing that mimics a meniscal tear. Like, they don't have full range of motion of the knee. And they hurt when they first kind of stand up. They have a hard time just, you know, turning, like all the things that you would think would be similar to a meniscal tear. And I was like, nope, it's probably just fat pads that are in the front of the knee, and it's probably just needs some mobilization. So we did some mobilizations. We taught him how to do it. And I mean, within 2 visits, he was like, I don't need to have surgery. Let's cancel this. I'm ready to go. Like, and of course we had to go and work on some other things, because there were other areas that we had, you know, we had to do strengthening and things, but he literally knew that he didn't need surgery after a couple of visits. And I think we started working on his other areas of his body that he was like, wow, I can actually get help from these things. I'm like, yes, absolutely.
So yeah, the quality of CBD is super important. Number one, you want to make sure that whether you use Thrive or any other products, there are very not good companies, reputable companies out there. There's also some not so reputable companies out there. So just a few things that you want to look for. You want to make sure that the hemp is grown in the United States. There's just no way around it. You want to make sure it's grown in the United States. Secondly, any company that is reputable will have their certificates of analysis available for you to look at. They will have it in a prominent position on their website. You shouldn't have to dig around. You shouldn't have to email them and ask them for it. Our bottles have a code on the bottom of the bottle, and on our website, you can go to the product. Actually, we have a QR code. You can scan the QR code and it will take you right to the product. And then the lab reports are attached or easily available right there on that product. And what you're looking for and what these labs tell you is, one, that there's the right amount of CBD, that the same amount of CBD in the bottle that the bottle is advertising, that the label is saying. So that way you're not getting more and you're not getting less. You definitely don't want less, because you're wasting your money. But you don't want more either, because it's important to know how much you're taking. You just need your body, everybody's body is different, and you need to know how much you're taking. And it will also tell you that it's pesticide free, and that there are no microbials and no heavy metals. And what's important about this too is hemp is very absorbent. It absorbs everything in the soil around it. So it's very important that it's also grown with organic farming practices. You don't want it in a field next to other agriculture that's being sprayed with pesticides, because even though it's not being sprayed with pesticides, it will still absorb it. So that's super important. And let's see, all of our stuff is grown with organic farming practices, and I've mentioned the QR code. The other thing we do, we offer a money back guarantee, and of all the reputable companies that we follow, they all offer a money back guarantee. So I think that's important. If you come across a company that doesn't offer that, I think I would just move on, because you'll know that they really stand behind their product if they're willing to give you your money back if it doesn't work. And what we know is not every formula works for every person. Thrive Organics is not just some magic formula that's going to work for every single person out there. It is a great product. We love it. But for those that it doesn't work for, we always encourage them to not give up on CBD. Find another company and perhaps their formula will help.
And I know y'all talked about, and I can't remember, maybe on another slide, just like in physical therapy, how we give you an exercise or we give you something to work on, and we want to see how your body responds to that. And then we're going to be able to adjust it based on how you respond. So if like, I got really sore, I could barely move, we know we need to back off a little bit, and we might have the right exercise, but we have to adjust it based on how your body responds. Well, same thing with CBD. And that's one of the things that you know, Thrive will do for you, is be like, okay, you know what? We need to actually increase it. Let's increase it because you're not noticing anything, or we need to decrease it because of how your body's responding. And so there is a certain type of dosage based on how your body responds, just like anyone else. Like everyone's body's a little bit different, well, a lot different in how they respond. And so you have to and that's one thing that you're just not going to get with like some of the other companies that are out there, or the products or things like, just take it, oh, that didn't work. Well, no, it might have. You just don't have anyone guiding you. And that's one of the things I love about Thrive, is that they literally are going to sit there and spend the time with you to help you make the best decision for you and understanding what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was on our last, when we did our podcast, I was saying that and really this is true for any supplement. You're looking for three things: positive, negative, or zero effect. Yep. Zero effect, you need to take a little bit more. Negative effect, it's okay. You just took a little too much, more than your body needed. The next day, reduce your dose by half. And then positive effect, whatever you take, if it seemed to work, your anxiety has kind of melted away, or you're sleeping, or your pain is gone, that's your dose. Yep. The one caveat to that though too is our bodies are kind of tricky, and our bodies can change. So some days you might need more, some days you might need less. You do have to it forces you to be in touch with what your body is feeling, which I think is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Because I think oftentimes we're just so out of touch, like you were mentioning, stomach problems. Yep. We'll go around with stomach problems for years and just think that's just how we are.
Yep.
And then
the doctors will also say, like, that's just what happens when you get older.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. Exactly. I was like, I was shocked that I got that answer, you know, when I was in my early 40s. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I really didn't think I was going to hear this. And so, yeah, so people just don't even know. They just don't know how bad they feel, and that's not normal. Right. It's not. Yeah. Totally not normal.
And then you eliminate certain foods and suddenly, oh, I do feel better. So that is the one thing I do love about working with people and with CBD, is we just really encourage you to get in touch with your body and start paying attention to how it makes you feel. And then you'll start doing that naturally with other things too.
So here's one of your success stories.
Oh yeah. So Chris-Ann, she has had hip pain for a long time. Like she would just, limp, hardly could walk. And it's so funny, when she bought the soft gels, she actually bought them for anxiety. She was like, I just need something to calm me down. And then like 2 weeks later, she was like, you know, my hip stopped hurting. And we hear that a lot too, because it does help all the things. It's crazy. But yeah, it's complete. And now she won't go without it. She is a faithful every month customer of the soft gels. Yes.
That's awesome. Well, we have some options for you guys, and we'll go through these, and then we will, gosh, I want my thing move. And so, and then we'll go through some questions. So we'll open it up for questions. So I know for me, just like with Thrive, we do kind of what we call like a free discovery visit, where you can just sit down, talk with us, and we can really help you make a better decision about your health. And I know Thrive does the exact same thing, where they sit down, talk with you so that you can make the best decision with your health as well. So you have those. We're also going to offer, if you do this in the next 15 days, we'll offer $50 off your evaluation price. And I know they're going to offer 20% off all of your orders if you use the code Empower 2020. So those are some, just for being a part of listening to talk. I know for me and for Stacy that we love education. Like education is what we love it for ourselves, and we love to share it. So we just want to thank you for just taking the time to come out, listen to us, and we want to kind of give something back to you guys. So I want to let's open it up. Let's hear. I know we had a question. So I have chronic pain condition that affects my trigeminal nerve. It's very painful. Regular pain meds do nothing. Charlotte's Web was recommended years ago. I tried it, nothing since then. I've spent thousands of dollars on, I guess, I'm not sure what that is, and no help. Here's a question. How do I know which product will help or work for me? Gosh, you want to take that?
Sure.
That's a bad one. Trigeminal nerve is, it's not a fun one from a PT perspective.
I'm not sure what that is.
A lot of facial stuff. It's almost like a Bell's palsy sort of, but it's like with a lot of pain type thing.
Okay. So I guess I would have
inflammatory response.
I would love to maybe talk to you in person, because I have a lot of questions. It's kind of a hard thing to just dive into, but some of the questions that I would ask you is, when you took the Charlotte's Web, which is a very good company, by the way, I would ask, how much did you take? And one thing that I have found, both personally and dealing with our clients, the soft gels tend to work better on pain, and the CBD drops tend to work better with anxiety and sleep. For whatever reason, I'm not real sure. Scientifically, that's just anecdotally, both with my mother, myself, my friend Chris Ann, who we just talked to, the soft gels just seem to do a better job on the pain. But you're welcome. I don't see the question, so I don't know your name, but you are more than welcome to schedule a CBD consultation. You can go on our website to do that, and I will give you a call and we can just talk and walk through it. And I would probably suggest the soft gels. If we don't talk and you want to go into the store, you can use that Empower 2020 either on our website or go into the store, and you'll get the 20% off. And if it doesn't work, we'll give you your money back.
And you can look, like, we're very similar. So you can go to the websites are down below, and we'll have this as well up on YouTube. So if you go to Empower Physical Therapy YouTube, we're gonna pull this up and it'll be there as well. But yeah, so like what she said, you can go and schedule a time with them. Same with us. If you go to empower-pt.com, there's a slot in there. You'll see on the first page on like setting up a discovery visit, but we'll send information out to you guys. I know we have all your email addresses. We'll send information where you can sign up for links, and we'll give you the Thrive links as well, so that you can just go right directly to there, so you don't have to search for everything. Let's see, we have another one. I have a question about CBD. This is from Megan. High blood pressure. Have you ever seen any results that shows it can naturally help reduce high blood pressure?
I think I have read that it can, but I will tell you, I haven't seen it. My husband has high blood pressure and he takes CBD regularly, and it really didn't bring it down. So I'm not saying that it doesn't, but personally, I haven't seen it. And I think blood pressure is something you don't want to mess around with. So, but I do think diet helps with blood pressure. I mean, I think nutrition first helps with blood pressure.
It does. And you have to, you know, again, you have to get to where's the source of what's going on with the blood pressure. So I would absolutely start with diet, because you can have an anti-inflammatory diet, which basically is eating mostly plants. You eat plants, it will reduce that systemic inflammation in your body, especially when you eat berries and things like that. Berries are vasodilators. And so if you can eat things that are going to like increase your vessels like size, like they're just going to open them up a little bit more, then your pressure is going to be going down, because obviously you have more room for blood to flow. So eating berries is really good, but overall it needs to be a whole diet, like overhaul, like eating an anti-inflammatory, which is basically a plant-based diet. So we have another question. What do y'all recommend on who's suffering from postpartum back pain? Can't do any core workouts from the C-section. So first of all, again, you've got to get to the source of like, where's the back pain coming from? Is there something that is mechanical that needs to be addressed first before you even get into doing, you know, a core workout? And it could just be that, especially having a baby, it could just be that you are just so weak. And rarely do I say this, because I'm always like, we got to get the source, and core strengthening is not usually the cause of back pain. But with C-sections, with like herniations, when you have a hernia, like not a back hernia, but a hernia, where something's kind of come through the abdominal wall and you've had to have surgery or things like that, you can have back pain from just having so much weakness. But you have to start out at a really like low, like a really easy level on what your body can tolerate before you can kind of move into harder kind of core strengthening exercises, especially when you've had C-sections and things like that. So I would say that, you know, you got to get to the source. I would just recommend, if you want to just even come in like for a discovery visit where we can sit down, learn a little bit more about what is going on with you and like what you've tried. And then we can kind of come up with, you know, a better, you know, help you make a better decision about whether, you know, on like what to do and what your next step should be. Any other questions? And again, I'll say, we'll shoot out everyone an email so that we can get like discovery visits that you can get booked, and Thrive Organics will send their website out so that you can get that booked as well. So you can talk to them and just really sit down. And I would highly recommend it. Like, sit down, have a conversation with either one of us, depending on like what's going on. I know if it's something that needs, you know, from a CBD related, they're going to be the place that I send to. So you're going to get to them one way or the other, and, you know, and vice versa. So just sit down, have a conversation. Like, that's what we want to do. We want to help you guys make a better decision about your health. And there's not very many healthcare providers that will just sit down and do that. And which is why we want to do our business differently. Both of us want to do our business differently, because we want to make sure that you're in the right place and that we can actually really, truly help you.
Yes.
Okay. Good to go to the door when we get there.